Have you ever had a moment where your entire reality just shatters? Where the person you trusted most in the world becomes a complete stranger in the blink of an eye? That's what my honeymoon was supposed to be, a paradise. It turned into a psychological thriller where I was the lead detective, the victim, and, ultimately, the judge. This is the story of how my husband left me alone on our honeymoon, and how the sounds I heard at midnight led me to a truth so dark, it changed me forever. Stick with me until the end, because the lesson in this story is one I think we all need to learn. It began, as all the best deceptions do, in a place of breathtaking beauty. The Azure Cove Resort in Bali was a postcard come to life. Our villa was a private sanctuary of white stone and dark teak, perched over turquoise water, with an infinity pool that seemed to spill into the ocean itself. The air was thick with the scent of frangipani and salt. Rob had planned it all. Only the best for my wife, he'd whispered at our wedding reception just 3 days prior, his blue eyes crinkling with a love I believed was real. He was handsome, successful, a rising star in a tech firm, and he'd swept me, a simple artist named Lola, off my feet with a whirlwind romance of 6 months. It felt like a fairy tale. I, the quiet artist, had been chosen by the charismatic prince. But the first crack appeared on the very first night. We'd had a romantic dinner on the beach, toes in the sand, a bottle of expensive champagne. But Rob was distracted. His phone, which he usually kept tucked away, was on the table. He'd flip it over, check the screen, and give me a tight smile. "Everything okay?" I asked, placing my hand over his. "Just work, my love," he said, squeezing my fingers. "Big merger. They can't seem to function without me for 2 weeks. It's pathetic." He laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. Later, back in the villa, as I was slipping into the silk negligee I'd bought specially for the occasion, he announced he had to take a call. "In the middle of the night?" I asked, my heart sinking. "It's morning in New York, Lola. It'll just be 10 minutes. Wait for me in bed?" He kissed my forehead, a patronizing peck, and walked out onto the terrace, closing the glass door behind him. I saw his silhouette, phone glued to his ear, his free hand gesturing animatedly. It wasn't the stressed posture of a business call. It was intimate. An hour later, he came back in. "Sorry, my love," he said, his voice flat. Crisis averted. He climbed into bed, turned his back to me, and was snoring softly within minutes. The negligee felt like a cruel joke. I lay there, staring at the thatched ceiling, the first cold trickle of doubt seeping into my heart. The next day was worse. Rob was a ghost. He was physically present, but his mind was a million miles away. Over a breakfast of exotic fruits and coffee, he barely spoke. "Rob," I said finally, my voice trembling, "this is our honeymoon. Are you having second thoughts? About us?" He looked up, and for a split second, I saw something flash in his eyes. Impatience? Annoyance? It was gone so fast, replaced by a mask of contrition. "God, no, Lola. I'm so sorry. It's just this deal. It's consuming me. The truth is," he leaned forward, lowering his voice, "I have to fly to Singapore. Just for 24 hours. There's a meeting. I can't miss it." My fork clattered onto my plate. "Singapore? On our honeymoon?" "It's for us, Lola. For our future. This bonus alone will pay for a down payment on a house. I'll be back before you know it. You can enjoy the spa, relax by the pool. Think of it as a little solo retreat." The manipulation was masterful. If I protested, I was the selfish wife who didn't support his ambitious drive to provide for our future. I was being unreasonable. He left that afternoon. He packed a small bag, gave me a chaste kiss on the cheek, and promised he'd be back by dinner the next day. I stood on the doorstep of our villa, watching the resort's golf cart carry him away, feeling smaller and more alone than I ever had in my life. The solo retreat was a prison. The luxurious villa felt cavernous and empty. Every romantic detail, the rose petals on the bed, the 2 champagne flutes, mocked me. I cried. I was angry. And then a steely resolve began to form. This was not okay. Night fell. The villa was silent, save for the gentle lapping of waves below. I couldn't sleep. The bed was too big, the silence too loud. I tossed and turned, my mind racing with scenarios, each one more terrible than the last. And then, at the stroke of midnight, I heard it. The villa wasn't detached. It was one half of a duplex, with a locked connecting door between our unit and the one next door. I hadn't given it a second thought until now. The first sound was a low murmur. A voice. A man's voice. It was muffled by the wall, but there was a cadence to it that was chillingly familiar. My breath hitched. I sat bolt upright in bed, my heart hammering against my ribs. Then came a laugh. A light, feminine laugh. And then the man's voice again, clearer this time, laced with a intimacy that made my blood run cold. "It's just a wall, Lola," I whispered to myself. "You're imagining things. You're heartbroken and lonely. And you're projecting." But then I heard my name. It was faint, but unmistakable. Worried about Lola suspecting. I froze, every cell in my body screaming. I slid out of bed, my feet cold on the marble floor, and pressed my ear against the ornate wooden door that connected the 2 villas. The man's voice was Rob's. There was no doubt. "I told you, she bought it," he said, his tone dripping with a casual cruelty I'd never heard before. "The emergency business trip. She's probably curled up in bed, crying her little heart out. It's pathetic. Really." The woman laughed again. "You're terrible. 2 days married and you've already abandoned her. What did you expect, Angie? That I'd actually spend 2 weeks here with her? This was the only way we could be together without raising suspicion. A last-minute, non-refundable honeymoon? My family would have asked too many questions if I'd canceled. This way, I fulfill the obligation, and we get our paradise." Angie. My mind reeled. Angie was Rob's work wife. The one he always talked about. The one he said was like a sister to him. I felt the room spin. The obligation. Our marriage was an obligation. I listened, numb with horror, as the sounds of their conversation turned into the sounds of their affair. The clink of wine glasses, more laughter, whispers, and then other sounds. The sounds that were meant for our honeymoon suite were happening just a few feet away, through a wall. The pain was a physical blow. It felt like my soul was being ripped in two. But then, something else rose inside me, cold and sharp and clear. A furious, calculating rage. This is the turning point, right? The moment the victim decides to become something else. I want you to be honest in the comments. At this point, are you on Team Confront? Bust right through that door? Or are you on Team Revenge? Stay quiet and make a plan? The answer says a lot about you. I didn't burst in. I didn't scream. I retrieved my laptop from my suitcase. My hands steady now. My tears gone, replaced by a frigid focus. I knew two things. Rob was a creature of habit, and he was arrogantly careless. He used the same simple password for everything, the name of his childhood dog, Rex, followed by 123. First, I logged into his cloud storage. I scrolled through photos. There were dozens of them. Rob and Angie, taken over the last year. Cozy dinners. Weekends away. Pictures of them in our apartment. My apartment. When I was away visiting my sick mother. The evidence was a sledgehammer to my heart. But I didn't flinch. I started downloading everything. Next, I accessed his email. I found the booking confirmation for the villa next door, made a week after he'd booked ours. I found emails to Angie, detailing the plan. I'll ditch her on the second day. It'll be perfect. I found financial records. He had a joint account with Angie I knew nothing about. He'd been siphoning money from our joint savings for months. But the pièce de résistance was in his deleted items folder. An email to his brother. The subject line was, "The Lola situation." My blood ran cold as I read it. Marrying Lola was the only way to get my hands on the trust fund her parents set up. They'd only release it upon marriage. Once the money clears in 6 months, I'm out. She's sweet. But let's be real. She's not exactly in our league. A trust fund? My trust fund? My grandparents had left me a modest sum, accessible only when I married or turned 30. Rob knew about it. He'd called it a lovely little safety net. He'd been planning this from the very beginning. Our entire relationship, from the first coffee date to the idos, was a meticulously crafted lie to access my inheritance. I was foolish, too trusting, too transparent, always have been. He wasn't just a cheat. He was a con artist. The humiliation was complete, but it was now fuel. I was no longer Lola, the betrayed wife. I was Lola, the architect of his ruin. The next day, I became an actress. I dressed in a bright sundress, applied my makeup perfectly to hide the sleepless night, and went to the resort's main restaurant for breakfast. I made sure to be seated near the entrance. Right on cue, Rob returned. He looked tanned and relaxed, a stark contrast to the haggard man who'd left. He saw me and put on a show of rushing over. "Lola, my love, I missed you so much." He leaned in to kiss me, and I turned my head so his lips grazed my cheek. I could smell Angie's perfume on him. "Welcome back," I said, my voice sweet, my eyes dead. "How was Singapore?" "Brutal. All-night negotiations. But it's done. And now, I am all yours for the rest of the honeymoon." The lie slid off his tongue with practiced ease. "I'm so glad," I simpered. "I was so lonely last night. I thought I heard noises from the villa next door." It kept me up, a flicker of panic in his eyes. "Oh, probably just the wind. Or monkeys." "Probably," I agreed, taking a sip of my orange juice. "So, I was thinking, let's make a video call to your parents tonight. I feel so bad that we haven't properly checked in with them. We can show them the villa, the view, share the happiness." It was the perfect trap. Rob loved performing the role of the perfect son. He couldn't refuse without looking suspicious. "Of course. What a wonderful idea," he said, his smile tight. The day was a masterclass in duplicity. We swam, we laughed, we held hands. I was the doting new bride, and he was the relieved husband, thinking his little secret was safe. All the while I was setting the stage. That evening, back in the villa, I positioned my laptop on a side table, the camera angled to capture the room. I opened the video call software but didn't click call yet. I opened the folder containing all the evidence I'd gathered: the photos, the emails, the bank statements. "Ready to call your mom and dad?" I asked, my voice bright. Ready when you are, Rob said, slinging an arm around me, pulling me close for a photo op hug. I clicked call. As it rang, I looked at him, my sweet smile still in place. Oh, Rob. Before they answer, I found the most interesting thing on your cloud account today. You really should use a better password than Rex123. His arms stiffened around me. The color drained from his face. On the screen, his parents' faces appeared, smiling. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad, I said, waving cheerfully. Rob was frozen. I found all these photos of you and Angie. I continued, my tone conversational. You look so happy together. And the emails. What a fascinating plan. Abandoning me here so you could hook up with your mistress in the villa next door? And the bit about my trust fund? That was truly masterful. Rob's mother's hand flew to her mouth. His father's face was a thundercloud. Lola, what is this? Rob, what is she talking about? His father boomed. Rob was sputtering, trying to rip the laptop away from me. She's lying. She's gone crazy. Am I? I said calmly. I then shared my screen. For the next 60 seconds, his parents were treated to a slideshow of their son's betrayal. The photos of him and Angie. The email about the trust fund. The bank statement for the joint account. The sounds from the other end of the call were of utter shock and disgust. I then looked directly into the camera, my face now cold and serious. I will be filing for divorce immediately, and I will be taking this evidence to your son's company. I doubt they want a con man and an embezzler representing them. I ended the call. The silence in the villa was deafening. Rob was staring at me, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated terror. The charming facade had completely crumbled, revealing the weak, pathetic man beneath. You bitch, he hissed. No, Rob, I said, my voice quiet but firm. I was your wife. You made me your enemy. Now, get out. Go next door. Your real paradise awaits. He stood there, trembling with rage and shame, before finally stumbling out of the villa. I walked to the connecting door, the one I'd listened at just 24 hours before. I didn't need to listen now. I knocked firmly. After a moment, Angie opened it, looking confused. She saw me, and her eyes widened. He's all yours, I said, my voice dripping with a contempt I didn't know I possessed. But a word of advice? Check your bank accounts. The man you're with is a financial black hole. I closed the door in her stunned face and locked it. I flew home the next day. First class, using the credit card Rob had so generously given me for emergencies. The divorce was swift and brutal. With the evidence I had, his lawyers had no ground to stand on. I got everything I was entitled to, plus a very favorable settlement to avoid a public lawsuit for fraud. I exposed him to his company, and he was fired within the week. Last I heard, he and Angie were together, but he was drowning in debt and had been completely cut off by his horrified family. The trust fund? I donated half of it to a charity that helps victims of financial and emotional abuse. The other half I used to start my own design studio. I didn't need a man to fund my future. I needed to reclaim my own power. The lesson here isn't just about revenge. It's about listening to that gut feeling. It's about understanding that the most dangerous prisons aren't made of bars, but of lies and manipulation. And the most powerful revenge isn't about violence or screaming matches. It's about cold, hard facts. It's about outsmarting your opponent on their own turf. It's about reclaiming your narrative so completely that they have no choice but to live in the ruin of their own making. I went into that honeymoon, a naive girl in love. I came out a woman who knew her own strength. The sounds I heard at midnight didn't break me. They woke me up. So, what's the bigger lesson here? Is it that revenge is a dish best served cold? Or is it that the truth will always set you free? Or that some people don't just want to break your heart, they want to steal your future? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt betrayed and found your own power, hit that like button and subscribe. Your support helps me share these stories and lets others know they aren't alone. Remember, your greatest revenge is to live a life so full and happy that your betrayer becomes nothing but a footnote in your incredible story. Stay strong. I'll see you in the next video.